Now we're blue on the back.
Nothing on the front.
Nothing on that.
Yeah, well, the red's gone, that's good.
Now can you hear us, Jeff? There we go. Now can you hear us, Jeff?
Yes, sorry about that.
Alright.
No, it was.
Welcome,
something on
Jeff.
red.
My bad.
Okay, yes, we have the monthly report. Again, this is just, information. I thought there was a few interesting things year to date on the backside of the financial permit financial report. All the way down to the bottom of the variances. We've had 17 variances this time last year. We have 17 this year so far too. We thought maybe hopefully doing some changes to our ordinance when we get to that section might change some of this as of next year, but we're pretty consistent with where we were last year. So there was one other that the difference in
Oh, we're $2,700
right
above what our
Above.
permit was last year.
same time last year, $2,701.49 above where we were same time last year. As far as permitting dollars go, so quite a few more than we were last year. Do we have any questions on it? This is just informational stuff, so if there's anything you want to see or want us to add next time, or if there's anything we can do, we've just been adding this information into our packets for review for everybody.
No, now on old business, could you inform us on the unsafe premise order of 25 North Birch? Mary Chandler Estate?
We got the default entry from the court, and so now we're gonna proceed with getting bids to tear down the structure, clean up the property. So Brian and I have kind of been working on the documents to get that ready. Brian and Jennifer have reviewed and revised some documents that I initially put together, so we're just moving forward with that, and hopefully within the next month or two, we'll have quotes for bids to take the property down.
Yeah, and I did get a call from the lady that's been here a couple times asking about it, that wanted to purchase the property. Said that there has been people that have either dumped stuff or have been trying to burn things there, caught stuff on fire again. Don't know if it's kids or what, but it's an issue. We need to get it fixed and cleaned up as quick as we can. So this is good. This will hopefully get that neighborhood a little more stable with not having people dumping trash there too, because I think that's been an issue from another neighbor that's called me about it too. So the sooner we can get it cleaned up and cleared out, then hopefully that'll stop. So.
Okay, ordinance review.
So Jennifer and I had a phone call with Banning this afternoon. They sent us a list of all the information, prioritized everything from high priority down to a low, medium and low priority in their eyes of what they think we should be working on first, down to the last. We ended the conversation with Jennifer and I need to spend some time actually going through our ordinance, copying the information over to a separate file, changing what we think we need changed in red, bringing it back to the board, having a review of it, and or bringing it back to Banning in the meantime to ask their opinion on whether or not the changes that we have made in the statements that we've made or will make within the draft that we want to bring back to the board is okay. And since they review this stuff all the time with different communities, maybe they've got some different wording that might work and things like that. So we'll let you know before we do anything moving forward, as the board, but that was where they left it. They have, 173 high priority items, 123 medium, and 93 low. We're talking,
She has,
400 items within that ordinance that they say is a priority that probably needs to be changed, believe it or not. So, and questions?
yeah, she had questions on 52 items and then she hadn't categorized 17.
So I think a lot of the stuff that they say that the issues that they have is there's too much here. It's a lot of duplication in things, especially within the area of chapter 5, which is our development standards. You might find, R1 with, public sewer, you might find the same thing within that section of the ordinance 3 different times within 3 pages. It's just a lot of redundancy and stuff that probably doesn't need to be in there. That's a lot of what they're looking at. We're looking at more on the ends of what works for us and some of the actual applying what the wording is to what we do every day. Not so much that there's a lot of fluff in here that looks like it could be cut out and shrunk. I'm not so worried about a lot of that as I am just the smaller things that we deal with every day. So we're going to take a look at it and we'll get it to you as quick as we can. Per chapter. Yeah. Chapter 5, 84 of them. That's the most. The next closest is chapter 11 with 48. And that's the CAFO. So we'll take a look at it, go through their list and compare it to our list that we gave them in the first place and see what we've got. And we'll bring it back to you as soon as we have it.
Okay, next item is the fee schedule review.
Yeah. So at the last meeting, I'm pretty sure we gave you a listing of just the smaller communities. The first one, we gave you a listing of the larger community. This time, or of close communities or ones that we could find. This time we gave you a mixture of a little bit of everything. So on the last page of it, you should have sort of a breakdown of everything when it comes to that, in alphabetical order. And it just stuff that we could find within any county within the state as far as what they were charging for each item. Again, this is going to be probably one of those we're going to probably look at. If anybody has any questions, review. We'll keep it on the agenda for the next meeting. In the meantime, if anybody has anything that they would like to see, if we have any suggestions at the next meeting, we'd love to hear them. This all came about again because of the part of the ordinance that says we're supposed to be getting the fees for everything before we do stuff, which we don't do, before we even file the application. We file the application, if somebody brings in an application for it, and then since we are responsible for the mailers and the ads and everything else, we don't know what those costs are going to be until after that's already done. So it could be, a week or two before the BZA meeting. Next thing you know, they're getting a letter saying, here's what it costs. Do we take that out of the ordinance and just say, we don't require you to have those fees up front? Because if we don't need to, if we're gonna keep doing what we're doing, then we don't need to change anything. But we should take that wording out that says that's something that we're required to get before with the application, and we don't do that currently. That's never been what we've done. So why that was ever put in there, we don't know. But if we don't need to change or don't want to change, that's totally fine too. We'll just keep doing what we're doing. But if they say that, we just want to make sure we're covered. And we can get more information to you about what, our fees are on the average since the first of the year. This year and, for a variance, for a special exception, for anything else we've done, and try to get the best idea of what it would cost to do this, to do each one of those. If we want to go to a change where we change the fee schedule to say this is what it's going to cost you, you pay that up front with your application. That's what this is for. That's why we brought this to you. So as part of our review of the ordinance, this was one of the items, so.
Paying it up front versus paying it,
By the day before the BZA meeting.
okay, by the meeting. How would that benefit us in any way towards the people that are naive or didn't know they had to get a permit? Is there any way we could?
Well, this is only gonna be for, so if you're talking about permits for structures or something like that,
No,
we're talking about special
Variances.
exceptions, variances and things.
stuff
So,
that's happening
They are required
out there being uneducated or naive to the fact.
to how the system works as far as the mailers and the ads, because that's the biggest thing. We do those mailers and ads for everybody because it's a pain. Most communities, they force you to do that. A lot of people would have to go out and hire an attorney or another company to help them do this. Wabash County, to mine, has always helped do this for people, but the problem is we have to have all those ads and mailers in 10 days prior to the meeting date. Well, we don't know. Once we submit all that information to like the newspaper, they send us back an invoice. Well, we have to have the application ahead of time so we know what we're submitting. So, but the ordinance says that fee is supposed to be with the application, but we can't do it in the way we're doing it. We never could do it that way, if this is how we're gonna do it. Because you don't know what that fee is gonna be until after they send us back an invoice saying, here's how much that cost. And it's the same with the mailers. We don't know if there's gonna be 5 mailers or 25 mailers. And it makes a difference. So until we take all those letters over to the courthouse or over to the post office and get that fee back for each one of those, we don't know what the mailer fee is either. So we give them then a letter, we send it to them that says, here's the fee for the variance, which is normally $40. Here is the fee for your mailers, $20 maybe, and here's the fee for your ad, $25 to $30. We send them one invoice for everything. At that point, they just have to pay it before the meeting date. Well, that's how we're doing it now. But the ordinance says we're supposed to get those fees when they turn in their application. We've never done it that way.
See, somebody who has 5 mailers versus somebody who has 25, there's gonna be a big difference.
That's why we're trying to get a rough average here. We don't want to gouge anybody. This is something that we're doing for the community. I get it. But also we don't want to we also don't want to make it a burden on the taxpayers to have to pay for this stuff either, above and beyond, because of somebody submitting things. Believe it or not, there's some of them in here. It's like, you want to rezone, it costs you what, $500 or $1,000.
Mhm.
And
One of the issues that we ran into is we'll put the ad in the newspaper, we'll send out all the mailers. They have until the day before the meeting to withdraw their application. Then we've already paid for the newspaper, we've already paid for the mailers. Now we're not getting reimbursed those costs unless, we talked to Mark and said, hey, we wanna go after him for $50, whatever it is, plus our time and
These,
papers.
these other counties, they include the extras because they have the mailing and everything included into that.
to my knowledge, I don't know, did we even check and see if there's any others?
I didn't check to see which ones do the mailers and ads for them.
We might be the only one around here that does. I've never heard of another one that does it. To be honest with you, even the cities and the towns, this is the first time I'd ever heard when I started here that we do it all for the community.
Or it could be such a thing as time of application, it's gonna be X amount of dollars for the variance, X amount of dollars for up to 5 mailers. And then the rest is due if there's 20 mailers, rest is due before the meeting. So we're not.
That's again, we're only getting a portion of it by I mean, that's where we said maybe it'd just be simpler if we just said, look, we've never had a variance that's cost over $125. So if we say that's what it's gonna cost now for a variance all total, what happens when we get one that's $135? Did we lose $10 or did we do a service for the taxpayers that cost us an extra $10? I'm torn on which way to go about this, because I think it's been a service that's good for the people, because I guarantee you there's people out there that this would be a disaster. Every month we'd probably have issues, whether or not they made their deadlines or not. I mean, Mark would have to review these and say, sorry, you're here, you drove 2 hours to get here for whatever, and sorry, we can't hear this tonight because you didn't make your deadline. That's what I don't want to see. I don't want to burden people to do that, but then again, it takes time for us to do those.
Is there a
So,
way to possibly ask for a deposit up front, and what if we don't use, they can get it back in the arrears?
There's that reimbursement for what's left when you get done.
Or else if there's more, then they gotta be aware of that too.
Yeah.
Cause the county should not be out back.
yeah, that's something that the auditor's office or something would have to clear, and we'd have to deal with them. Because once we take money in, then we have to, we have to send it to them. It's either gonna be a claim or that could be more of a nightmare even. I mean,
We
it's,
don't know the right answer.
right, I don't know that there is. And like I said, we don't mind doing this. We've done it for a long time, and we know the routine and we know it. And I think it's a great service, because I've been there. On the other end, on my previous life, I missed deadlines like this, even though we thought everything was fine. We miss them, and you stand up in a meeting and think you're getting ready to be heard for a variance or something. Next thing you know, that's not the case. Their attorney's going, sorry, you didn't miss your deadline. You got to come back next month. Then I got to go to a client, or we don't have any idea what the situation is in some of these cases. So if it's a big project and somebody misses a deadline, that could cost somebody some major money and some major headaches.
So we have an idea how much we are losing because of the shortfalls.
Well, right now, it's just our time. I mean, they're paying for what they get.
Okay,
We're giving them an exact amount. If it's $99.22 for everything total, that's what they're getting charged, and that's what they pay.
I think there's been two, maybe in the last 9 months, that canceled after the mailers and ads were done.
so it's not a
And they
big
did.
issue then.
Correct. They did not pay.
But we had we'd already sent that stuff off, so now the county loses.
Yeah.
Do
Because,
we know up front if they cancel, they have to pay this amount?
well, then again, we probably need to put something in there. That's why I'm saying,
Yeah.
which way do we do it? And that's why we're discussing this. I think this is, do we just say, okay, it's gonna cost you now, it's $150 for the variance? That's what it's gonna cost.
Do we have an idea of what the average cost is?
Well, and that's why we can get that information easy. And I thought maybe we had it in the first batch of stuff that we gave them. But that would have been, 4 or 5 months ago, I think, when we did that. I mean, it's, like I said, it's one of those, do we need to change anything? If we do, like I said, it's just one of those, the only thing that we would need to change would be, we just need to take it out of the ordinance. If we're not gonna say we're gonna take those fees up front, we need to take that statement out of the ordinance.
I think if there are fees that we have to incur,
Yeah.
we need to get compensated.
Mhm.
And we do, it's just, do we
No,
do it,
right.
do we do it at the time of the application, or do we do it after the fact? After the application's filled? Because we can't put the mailers and the ads together until we have the application and know what we're actually asking for the variance. That's the whole point of it, is we have to know so that we can put that information in the variance, or in the letters and the mailers and in the ad that says, here's what the variance is for, which means the application's already been done and put into place.
And I'm sorry for coming in late, but how much time between putting an ad in and the meeting do we have?
Normally,
Well,
2.5, 3 weeks.
to put it, we only have 2 once-a-week newspapers in the county now.
Right,
So the June. What is it, 24th BZA meeting, tomorrow is my deadline to get all the newspaper ads in. Otherwise it won't be published in time,
okay.
so.
We have to have everything to the paper by Friday, 10 a.m., I think, to make the following Thursday's deadline
So,
for the paper, which needs to be there 10 days
10 days
prior
prior.
to that meeting, which means
10 days
we're almost
prior.
3 weeks behind, 3 weeks out.
okay,
Reimbursement for costs.
But that's where it gets confusing with people. So do they, what newspaper then are they gonna go to? With the newspapers the way they are now, they're being owned by multiple, are they gonna end up in a paper that's gonna end up in Bluffton or Marion or, Peru or something like that? And we're not even gonna know.
If you want.
Are they gonna know to bring copies to us so that Mark can review them and make sure they were in the paper? Yeah, that, I don't mind the way we're doing it, but if we're gonna do it, is there an easier way just to say, okay, instead of 150, or instead of $99, do we charge them $125? Or do we say $100?
I think we just get the money up front. If there's any money left over, we just give it to them at the end.
but going through the auditor's office.
Yeah.
That's gonna be-
Like Brian said, that could be a nightmare.
Yeah,
And you get-
I
Yeah,
don't know, just raise the fee to $135, $140.
so these are the ones we have now.
So the averages as of, I believe, March.
Average newspaper ad fee for a special exception was $29.43. Average mailers, and this was over the past 12 months, but this was in March.
Yeah.
Then the average mailer cost was $14.48. Plus the special exception fee would total $96.91. Variances, similar, $30.46 and $11.90 plus a $40 fee for the variance would be $82.36. Rezone in the past 12 months, the fee is $100 for rezone plus $23.76 for the ad and $16.36 for the mailer, so it was about $140. Vacations, $41.48 for the ad, and mailer cost $17.98 plus the record, plus there's also a recording fee with that, and $100 was $185 roughly. So,
what was the first figure?
Brian, I didn't get it written down.
90
Special
for the
exception,
special exception, 96.91.
thank you.
Variance was 82.36
I got that.
Yeah.
140, 180.
and 184. We're just under 185. Yeah.
Brian, I'd make a, I don't know if we can, but I'd make a motion to do $100 on special exception, 100 on variance, 200 on rezone, and leave vacation at 100.
But didn't you say vacation cost you $185?
No.
Well, it did only because too, we have to, the vacations have a recording fee also. So we have to get a recording fee of $25
Okay.
from those people at the end afterwards, if it gets
Okay.
approved, to record.
So,
And see, that's where it's like,
yeah,
what if it doesn't get approved? Then we charge them an extra $25 that
Yeah.
for the actual service, but then they don't get to use the $25 because they didn't get it approved. It's,
So these other counties that have no fee for that, does their county not charge them for recording fees?
They have to go and record them themselves.
Yep.
They have to take the initiative and the responsibility of picking it up from the auditor's office or.
which is what we used to do. We found a file for something similar, and that something similar was, okay, everything's good, but and your request got approved for the vacation, but until you record it, it's not official. That sort of forced them to do that.
Which
so
is
just make
something.
that 200 as well.
Are we gonna continue to record them, or are we going to make them record them?
We've done, haven't we done both? I think we've done both.
The most recent vacation was the first one that we had done in quite a while. It was kind of a strange situation.
So,
So we went ahead and took care of it and then he reimbursed us for it.
so if we're going to record them, or if we're not gonna record them, how much would it be then?
It'd probably be closer to 160,
Okay.
155, 160, somewhere in there,
But still,
all total.
give it 200.
So I would change vacation to 200. So 100, 100, 200, 200.
And I would second that.
Now, this is gonna be our fee schedule change, so that's something that we can change in a regular meeting. Because it's not part of the actual ordinance. But do we have to have that on our
Yeah,
agenda
it's-
to vote on?
If it's not part of our actual ordinance.
It's not.
Yes, we can change that.
Okay. I just want to double check.
Make sure everybody's clear. Doug made a motion for making a flat fee of $100 for special exceptions, $100 for variances, 200 for rezones, and 200 for vacations.
Now, does that include mailing fees?
Yes.
And it includes your recording?
For the vacations, those are the vacations, the only one that,
So that takes care of everything.
Yes. And I second that.
And Sherry seconded. So Jeff Dawes,
Yes.
Stan Hand,
Yes, and I would like to say, let's review this yearly.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
We'll have to anyway for our budget stuff, because we're halfway through the year now. If we implement this, and this could change a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So
so,
we'll definitely have to check that, so.
okay.
Mark Mylum,
Yes.
Doug Rice,
Yes.
Mike Bruce.
Yeah.
Sherry Sleep,
Yes.
Joe Vogel.
Yes,
Thank you for that.
Okay, next on new business, Fred and Rhonda Webb, LaGrow Township request to maintain livestock, chickens in residential zoned district. Welcome. Are you missing chairs up here?
Mrs. Chair.
Oh.
What happened to the chairs? Where are they?
I don't know.
There's only 3 chairs up there. Yeah, I've got them.
We started the audit this week, maybe we did.
Yeah, maybe they're in another office up here.
Okay, or Brian, do you have it or you?
Well, this is the property, oops, clicked on the wrong one. Let me do it again.
There you go.
Next. There it is. Okay, so Mr. Webb lives at, 356 East 500 North in, Urbana. And, came into the office and said, hey, I was wanting to build another structure for some chickens. And so, we looked at it, obviously in our application, we have to say what actually zoning designation it is. And right now it's R1. Well, can't have chickens or livestock in residential zone. Mr. Webb's, hey, we've had them. It's been here. But the reason we wanted to review this and think is, this is R1, it's outside the town limits, which is the green line that's shown there. There's 3 different lots outside of it. And in the previous ordinance, this was zoned agricultural. So if you look on the next page on your packet, it was zoned agricultural. For some reason, those 3 lots were grabbed and put in as residential when the new ordinance was put in place. Unbeknownst to some of the landowners there who have had livestock since they have been there. It's outside the town limits. So this is one of those, it's like, what do you do? The ordinance does say one thing. And so I asked Mr. Webb to come in, file for his special exception to have this reviewed, to get a recommendation from our board to take to the Board of Zoning Appeals. That's how we've always done it. When it comes to livestock stuff, we've always brought it as a special exception to the board. So he's wanting to do that, and he's here and willing to answer any questions for everybody.
I just wonder why he was in A1 and it's R1. Is that the town or that was us?
It was
Why would
when
we
we
have
changed
done
them.
that? We had
We
no
didn't.
knowledge of that.
We didn't. It was just when the new maps were created, it was pulled in.
And he's not alone. This has happened multiple occasions and elsewhere. We found it's the same situation.
Unusual thing. It was,
There's lots of homes that were ag before that are now considered residential.
And you got ag on 2 sides of it.
Right.
And those other 2 houses have, on one side, backside. It's kind of like with a fountain deal.
Right,
But I don't know why arbitrarily you can just have it show up, you were in one district and town's not expanding or bringing in. I kind of think that's our mistake to begin with.
that's why I told him, I said, I think this is a good one to bring to the board to discuss and see.
I would agree, that's what it was before, that's what it ought to be now.
And you know, he's not deep into town, he's outside the town,
Right.
3 lots out, he's got ag around him.
The town expanded out,
Right,
I
exactly.
can see that.
one thing, but it's not.
I mean, we're not changing the designation, he's still gonna be residential 1, he's just gonna ask for a special exception to be able to do this, so. It's still gonna be R1, but he's gonna get the special exception. Or try to get the special exception approved through this board and then the Board of Zoning Appeals to be able to have the livestock.
I'll make-
So. That's what this is.
I'll make a motion to,
Give a favorable recommendation to the
I'll
BCA
check
for
with
it.
that.
Jeff Dawes,
Yes.
Sam Hand,
Yes.
Mark Mylan.
Yes,
Doug Rice,
yes.
Mike Bruce.
Yep.
Sherry Sleet,
Yes.
Joe Vogel.
Yes.
sir, sir,
You didn't even have to say a word.
I appreciate what you're doing for me. I just couldn't understand why.
Yeah.
My taxes and everything went up. And nobody explained why.
This, like I said, this is a tough one because of. One, you know, when we looked at the old, I said, well, wait a minute, you know, this isn't in town, why is this? We looked at the old stuff and it showed it in ag. And we started looking, you'd be surprised how many areas within the county that this same exact thing has happened. They've pulled 3 or 4 lots, 10 lots, parcels in that were close enough to the lines that were already residential around them, and they pulled them in as residential also, that were ag. So anybody then that would have had chickens or anything before could have summarily been pulled into a residential zone. So we're gonna really check that from now on to see what's going on with that.
So he would have been left ag. Would he have had to have the variance?
No.
So he's had to pay for a variance
Mhm.
that should have been
Yeah, I disagree
Can
with
we
that, this deal.
waived those
I think it
fees.
should be put back on the computer, ag, and all 3 of them houses.
Well, the problem with that is, since it's already been done like that, it would be a rezone, wouldn't it, Mark? I mean, we'd have to go through a process of
Don't you
rezone.
have a correction? Thing there, correct mistakes, and somebody made a mistake.
Well, I think there is a process that when you adopt a new zoning ordinance, the maps that go with it are essentially automatically adopted. And so that's where, when we adopt these new maps, everything is automatically rezoned according to those maps. So based on this, he would have to go through a rezone to get those changed back. So when those maps get approved, it's not an accident or a mistake. Now, it may have been a mistake to then zone them R1, but those maps were approved the way it's shown. So,
Mhm.
I mean,
They got changes.
we can go through the rezone process and we haven't had anybody ask to waive fees, but that could be a consideration too for some parcels.
In if I remember right, I looked this up, this board can request a rezone.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure we can. As a board, we could request a rezone.
Can we request it for all of those involved in this same situation?
I mean, I'm sure we could if it's.
Like
if
if we
it's
do
those-
it like it,
it'd be the same process as if a landowner requested the rezone with notices that go out to all the adjoining landowners. And so if you do a lot of these at one time, you're gonna have a full room of why is this being done or what's going on, or people calling
We like.
Brian and Jennifer saying, why did I get this letter?
gotcha,
So,
okay.
I mean, we can. It might be a good idea to compile a list of what properties are affected before we start that process to know the impact.
Right,
We do it per township or something?
Yeah, you can
Versus-
piecemeal it. You can do it one.
We-
what
We've had several people question it already.
Split 'em. But I need to find out.
Did that raise his taxes when they made him an R1 versus an ag?
See, I don't know how that works.
No, the zoning shouldn't affect it.
Clarification.
Yeah, so
The classification that the auditor's office or the assessor's office or whoever does that, then they have a different classification. And they do that. It doesn't have, they don't even know what we do.
Mark, not arguing with you, but that's what Brian just said, they do raise his taxes.
Based on the zoning class?
No.
Oh, I thought you said that.
No, that they don't even know. I don't even think they look at this
Oh, I
downstairs.
thought you said.
They have, no, they do it per a classification that they have, that they use.
Oh,
It
they have
doesn't
their
have
own-
anything to do with our zoning up here. No, it doesn't. And we've asked because if you have, so you could be in a residential zone or zone, say you're zoned Ag 2, but you have, you're only using your property for residential purposes, but you might have 5 acres. You're being taxed differently on the rest of your property because you're in an ag zone.
Um,
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion to waive his fee for the variance. Cause he shouldn't have had that.
So the variance fees and the mailers and the ad, so everything, that's fine. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So for the entire application.
Yeah, I
That's
think
fine.
so, given this, it was. I know we all voted for it as part, but it was an oversight on our end.
You know, I don't think he should have to pay
Yeah.
for a mistake that is on our end somewhere.
Okay, so the motion to waive all fees, including the mailers and the legal ads. See Jeff Dawes,
Yes.
Sam Han,
Yes.
Mark Mylum,
Yes.
Doug Rice,
Yes.
Mike Bruce.
Yeah.
Sherry Sleet.
Yes.
Joe Vogel.
Yes.
We will be in touch with you. We have your phone number and everything on your application.
And
So
next meeting is,
Before.
yep, June 24th, same place, same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Thank you.
appreciate everything
Okay.
else.
So when we give him favorable recommendation.
Yeah.
One question, Brian.
Yes,
Is there any way I could possibly start putting up that building? I've had it laying there now almost a month.
I'll just say this, as I say to anybody else that hasn't got a permit beforehand, you do it at your own risk.
Well, I came in to get the bed, I'll be an honest man and come back. to you.
I got you. I understand. I can't give you a permit till this has been approved, but
Okay.
any work you do in the meantime is at your own risk.
Thank you.
Okay.
When we approved that last. Ordinances, I didn't realize that the residential zone had changed.
There's quite a few areas that we've noticed. We've actually looked after this and started looking around a little more, and there's little pockets of stuff just exactly like this that this has happened with.
That may be, like Mark suggested, maybe a good idea to go township by township and try to correct some.
We'll keep looking at it and seeing, because we have had other people question it that didn't even know they were in a residential zone. They're like, what do you mean?
What about
this is
these
always-
people that have houses inside of the acreage? And is now owned by the grandson, has them both now. Is that house that was in the acreage
No.
cut out?
Probably not. The only way you're probably gonna get something like this, R3 or R1, is if the density of the housing within the area.
Okay,
So the density of the housing within the area, and that's why this house out here is probably, it's still Ag 1. These,
The one to the east of it.
yeah, the one straight to the east is in Ag 1 because there's space in between. You have to be adjacent to or touching that zone to be a part of that zone. That's why all of this whole rest of the towns are R1. Well, they added these 3 lots in here into the R1 that used to be Ag.
Yeah.
So I would assume Rowan probably has some
Oh,
stuff. So
I'm pretty sure we could probably go to the other side of town and find the same thing,
okay,
but more than likely.
yeah.
I don't have WTH up here, or I would. This is Beacon. Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
My guess is these lots over here could quite possibly have been Ag 2 or Ag also on the west side of and now they're R1 again.
Yeah, that one used to be, what's the name's cattle farm?
That's what I'm saying.
The big parcel.
Yeah, it's got,
West of Urbana.
yeah,
Not the tourists.
Yeah.
He's north. He's north.
I thought he had, farm.
Jefferson, your brother heads out one to the east, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there at the corner of 500 and 100.
yeah, see this, I'm just gonna guess this piece right here, cause there's old infrastructure, looking barn and stuff. This, my guess is this was ag, but if you turn on the zoning now, it's
Cause
R1.
that was a feedlot.
So the fertilizer plants are one.
Railroad.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
This?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
South,
it does,
south of the road there.
oh, it's down,
Go
over here.
where's the railroad?
That's general business,
Oh, okay.
Okay, kept that general business.
along the river, that's general business.
Okay.
And then Cyclone is industrial.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, I give you something to show you.
Yeah, thank you.
You will be watching movies.
Yeah, right. More movies for Brian.
Okay, complaints update.
so total unresolved as of today was 49. Rolled over 59. So, new complaints in 2025 are 23. We have 33 active, open, confirmed, as of right now. 2 unsafe premise and 14 we're calling, legal. With, 1 initial under investigation right now. I still haven't confirmed it's an actual complaint. And 15 that we monitor, and the monitor ones are, something we got a call about. It didn't blossom to the point of what I would consider, we're just I keep an eye on them, and keep them in our monitor file. And then some of them that we have done that we've not closed it, but we're on the verge of closing. It's sort of, I'm keeping an eye on it until they do close it. They've said, yeah, give me another month or two to fix some things or to do stuff. And so I just put those under the monitor and not keep them as a regular, open complaint at that time. We just consider it monitored. So that's as of right now.
Brian, in BCA last month, Turflinger was in and talked about that house beside him, I assume.
Yeah.
You said you'd bring it up tonight here.
Yeah, normally those are something we would bring to this board. The complainant has filed a variance request with our office.
Okay,
So he will be at the BCA meeting next month.
okay, so we don't.
So he's gonna, so then I'm sure the neighbor will be here too then. And have the opportunity to hash it out at that point in time.
That's with the BZA, right?
He is,
That's with the BZA, right?
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so he had
I know
10
you told
days.
him he was gonna talk
Yep.
to us tonight. I'm just trying to keep you out of trouble.
No, he did, so he did file his request yesterday.
Yes.
And that's
Which was-
for the rocks,
It's for the, yeah, the structure we talked about here as a board, the pergola type structure, yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, the rocks can,
He's already taken care of those rocks, where the DNR has told him he had to remove them. He
okay.
did remove those.
He removed
That's
it.
why we were waiting hoping that when he removed those, he would also have to remove a portion of the structure and just take it all out. He didn't need to, he didn't have to take out enough rocks, so he was able to keep it. But we sent him a letter saying, look, you told us you were doing one thing, and you did something different. We keep getting complaints about it. We need to figure this out and get this straightened out. So we'll bring it to the Board of Zoning Appeals because he has filed for a variance from the setback requirement. So we'll review it at that point.
Thank you.
Yep. And I do have something under any other business if we. And.
Are there any other business to be brought before the board?
Yes, so we have the files, the information from Lincoln Hooker and Gales. the two, that we had a hearing for, their time, we gave them additional time until July 1st. I've been by both of the places and checked both of them out, yesterday. And I can get pictures up on the screen from yesterday. So this is Gale's. And these, might have to zoom in here. This is what's left on the ground right now. So this is the trailer. They tore it out, but they have left the majority of it there sitting on the ground. It's still there, but it's being worked on, I guess. It's just very, very slow going. We are required to file a continuous enforcement order. In that continuous enforcement order, we wanted to more or less send this to them with the continuous order saying, look, we noticed that the trailer is gone, which is great. The majority of it, the frame and under frame and everything's still there. And it looks like all they did was took the metal off and the roof off, and they've done something with it because I don't see it anywhere. But then the walls, this looks like the walls, the 2x4s or structure boards that were holding up the walls. They've placed in a separate pile. I don't know what the plan is for those, but again, it's partially there. So they have until July 1st is what this board gave them. We have a meeting on July 3rd, the day before the 4th. So in our continuous enforcement order, Mark, I think that was the question. Can we put in here that if you do not have this completed, that you're required to come to that meeting on the 3rd?
I would say don't put it in the order, put it in a letter that you're sending.
Separate?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what we were planning on doing. We just wanted to say, hey, look, we're keeping an eye on it, and you're doing good. If you can hopefully finish this, if not, you would be required to come back to this board because we gave you till the 1st of July to get this torn out and cleaned up. And it's not quite there yet. This is Gale's. They did, like I said, they did have that taken down. And then this is Lincoln Hoker, so this would be in Itemsville. And this is the lot now.
Wow.
The house used to sit right here. It was sitting right in this area right here. It is gone. They have absolutely done a phenomenal job. You know, you could see there's a couple pieces of metal still here and there. Some things, they left that barn that they were talking about, and then a little metal building, a little metal portion. Like I said, there's just a few piles of stuff here and there that are still left. And then the things up near the front on the curve of the road when you first pull in. This is a curve on the road right here. And this boat and the trailer and this little shed and stuff is just sort of has a few things. But for the most part, a vast, huge majority of it is all gone. The 3 times before this that I went, they had a huge 20-yard, and they must have just kept filling that thing and having it taken away. So it is very close to being totally cleaned up. This one is definitely very close. So this is one of those, you know, do we push it any further? I mean, I'd say other than a few little piles of stuff here and there around the lot that I saw, it's virtually the way we had asked for it to be done, except for in our orders, we always put graded and then seeded. And that's not been done here. So we can do the same thing with them, send them the continuous enforcement order with the caveat to say, look, you're really close here. If you can get the rest of this done and before this meeting, let me know and I'll go review it the day before, because Wednesday would be the day before the meeting. And if everything's good, then they don't need to appear. Would that be something that we could do? I mean, because the order was if we gave them until that day. So if everything's cleaned up, I wouldn't see a reason why we'd have to drag them in here to another meeting if they've got it all cleaned up. So, and it looks like they're well on their way, if not 95% done. So, yeah, I just wanted to give everybody an update on that, and we will be tomorrow, be sending out some letters to them along with the continuous enforcement orders.
Oh, continuous enforcement.
Yeah, I would love it to be in the minutes that those have been actually approved. And I don't think this is something that the plan commission has normally done, but whenever we have an order and it's affirmed at a hearing, the statute says you have to issue a continuous enforcement order. So there's an unsafe building order that Brian issues, and then the continuous enforcement order that the plan commission actually signs off on and issues. So there are two separate, but they require the same thing. It's just an extra process that I have to show if we needed to go to court that all of the boxes got checked.
And Mark, we will need you as the chair tonight to sign off on those also. Okay. If you could stick around afterwards, if they get approved on this.
Election.
Yeah, we're gonna, can we do these two separately too?
We'll start with Gail, continuous enforcement order for Ezra and Loretta Gale, which was the trailer in Serbia.
Yes, 140 West Sim, Serbia. The unsafe order was to specifically to demolish and remove the unsafe building and to demolish and remove part of the unsafe building.
I'll move for that. Continues.
Second.
And we all agreed to not impose a civil penalty for those two.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was something we reviewed too. I wanted to bring up.
Motion to approve Gale's, Jeff Dawes,
Yes.
Sam Han,
Yes.
Mark Mylum,
Yes.
Doug Rice,
Yes.
Mike Ruth.
Yep.
Sherry Sleet.
Yes.
Joe Vogel.
Yes.
On to Lincoln Hooker.
Same thing, 57, Marion and Lincoln Hooker, Patrick, Lincoln Hooker and Hutch, Francisca, Nicole Herrera, Lincoln Hooker, 57 East Geary Street, Manchester, to demolish and remove the unsafe building. And we also did not impose a civil penalty on this one. So we'll send those out as per the record if we get approved.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Jeff Dawes,
Yes.
Sam Han,
Yes.
Mark Mylum,
Yes.
Doug Rice,
Yes.
Mike Ruth.
Yep.
Sherry Sleet,
Yes.
Joe Vogel.
Yes.
Do you have any information, Brian, on a moratorium committee or research or anything like that?
No, so it did get approved by the commissioners to place a moratorium. Our ordinance or our statutes per the board say that the chair of the board has to approve any committee that we have. We didn't do that in the case of the solar because our chair was had to recuse himself from that. So that's why Randy was not part of that decision or part of that committee. I just got a committee together and we did that as part of that since he couldn't make that call. So in this case, though, after reviewing everything, he needs to do that. So I need to get with Randy and just say, here's what we need to do. We need to get a committee together and start reviewing this. And get his, see what he thinks if we need to bring it to the board and decide what way we want to go with it. We want to do it as a board, we want to do it as a committee. How do we want to do it? And I think there are ways we could do it and keep it. I think we can hold meetings, can we, to review that kind of a thing where the public is also able to be there. They just can't be involved. They can't ask questions or anything.
Can we do like, I know the schools call it a work session and
Yeah.
the public could be there and they just can't ask questions.
To be fair, that's most public meetings too. Like even this meeting, they don't have a right to ask questions unless it's a public hearing. I think.
Okay.
So, yeah, and if you wanted to do the full plan commission, yes, we would call them work sessions until there was some action actually to be taken, and then it'd be done at a regular meeting.
Regular meeting, right? Okay. Those are just suggestions if we want to, so I'm gonna bring that to Randy, see what he wants to do, because he should be able to, and he's the chair, so I want him to be involved with this and his 2 cents in how we want to do this. If anybody has any, suggestions on that, be more than welcome to discuss that, and then just let him know what's going on. We'll bring it back to the board if we need to.
I'm just thinking in conversations that to expedite it, it may be a good idea to include the full board. Because in essence, the full board is going to have to look at the finished product to recommend going to the commissioners, so we might as well save a step. And be involved in it, have us all involved in it from the start, I would think. I think that would speed things up.
That would be my suggestion too. And plus, you know, going into the summer months, making sure we have a quorum present. If we have the whole board, you can have 2 or 3 that did show up and still have a quorum.
Yeah.
Jeff, did the commissioners vote on that?
On the moratorium?
Yeah.
Yes, it was 3 to 0 to
Okay.
put it into effect.
That way.
So that was Monday, so as of Monday, it's in effect. I did want to ask Mark, the moratorium, is there a time frame that,
There's not a specific time frame, but we need to be working on advancing the ordinance, because the longer we go, the more they have an argument that we're not actually trying to do anything, and the moratorium wasn't to give us time to make an ordinance. So I mean, if we're within 6 months to a year, I think we're fine. We go longer than that, that's when we start getting into a gray area.
Just how long were we on the solar ordinance? Didn't we go a
Yeah.
whole year?
Well,
I think so, but I think that also started before I really took over.
yeah, and it took us a couple months just to get a committee together, because we were trying to get people from both sides. We couldn't get anybody to deal with it. Some people didn't want anything to do with it. We wanted people that were for it, and we wanted people that were against it. We couldn't get anybody to do that. So I just had to make a call and just say, look, let's just do this. So we got to get this going. We can't just sit here and keep going back and forth trying to find somebody. We need to get this done. So that's why then we just started it, and I had, what do we have, 5 or 6 meetings, I think, before we ended up bringing it back here and then going to the commissioner. So it was probably close to a year that it took us to get that one done. But we worked on it pretty much the whole time, so.
So if we just use the full committee, we should be able to shorten that up a little bit anyway.
We possibly could, and then like I said too, I guess the bad part about this is it's just gonna be an extra meeting for everybody. For a while, so I mean, as long as everybody's on board with that, and we can figure out a date and time that works for everybody. It's just like anything, we're not gonna get a full board every single time, or we're not gonna get a full committee to do that every single time. So
Because I remember on the solar, I think one of the people that was on it only showed up for one of the 5
one meeting.
meetings.
Yeah.
So, and then it was a challenge, so.
Yeah.
Well, Randolph County's going through the same thing. And did they put a moratorium on?
I'm not sure. That's where they had, so Randolph County was, I'm pretty sure, where they had the state had their meeting last week to review or to take public comments or comments on the actual state rules and regulations, the code that they want to put in place for the process for permitting these kind of wells through the state, through DNR. And so we did have a couple locals from Wabash County go to that meeting. And I guess they were just like anybody else, was sort of set back because a lot of what's happening right now is happening over on the west end of the state in Vigo County. And they made them drive all the way to the other side of the state for this meeting and to review this stuff. So I think there were some pretty unhappy people with them about some of this, but neither here nor there with us. But yes, the state's still going through their review. So they did push it another month at least because they had enough public comment. So they didn't approve anything as far as that goes. So the state's process still has not been finished yet. So in reality, we can't issue a permit anyways until that is done. So even if they're another 2 or 3 months out, does give us some leeway time to get going and get things working before the state puts their process in place. Because we couldn't give them a permit anyways to do it without the state's approval first.
Hey, Brian,
Yes.
you might look into Montgomery County. They're a couple years ahead of us, or a year or two ahead of us, in terms of their carbon sequestration ordinance. They might actually have something on the books, but I don't know how to get a hold of that. So,
You do. We've got copies of theirs.
okay, perfect.
Well, that's why we don't wanna reinvent the wheel if you could get.
Oh, we've checked. There's quite a few counties now that have them. That's why we were just surprised, because at first we weren't seeing anything, because like I said, I think a lot of the state or the counties are waiting until the state does their thing to see what they actually put in theirs to make sure that they're not doing anything above and beyond what the state is requiring. So that we're not stepping on their toes. If not, they might have to go back and revise some parts of their ordinance to make sure that they're not overstepping their bounds with what the state's already approved. So,
Well, if the state comes out with something, can our county be more restrictive than the state?
Unlikely, because I don't think the state restrictions are going to actually regulate what we are regulating as far as like setbacks.
Okay.
They're gonna be regulating a few different things with the actual operations and construction probably, that's much more technical. So I think we're gonna be regulating different things, but they can't get a potential permit from the state, which they'll need first before the state even has its regulations in place.
Okay.
So, Mark, would it be just from an advice standpoint, we work on ours and maybe we have it polished and ready to go, but wait until the state finalizes it before we vote on ours and pass ours?
It may not be a bad idea. The state has its proposed regulations already out there, so we can take a look and kind of start working, assuming those will be put in place. And if they get changed, then we either can adjust if we haven't adopted one, or if they do take a really long time, then we would just come back and amend ours.
Okay.
yeah, and I think it's a good thing. Well, I think timing wise, we're in a pretty good shape here with all that, because I think it's all going to sort itself out here by the end of the year. So we're going to know pretty much where everybody's at with everything. And like Mark said, they do have a draft out sort of similar to what we've done with our stuff. That's what they're asking for public comment on right now. So if we do know what's in a lot of it, but will that change? Will any of it change? That's the whole question of it, is whether or not any portions of it will change to the point where it might affect what we're doing with ours.
Okay, if there are no other questions or anything, I will accept the motion for adjournment.
I'll still make it.
We've got a motion, do we have a second?
Yes.
I'll second.
Gators have to have a choice.
Time to get home from the game.
Pacers.